Good ideas never die. I mean, if you have an idea for anything within your company or within your business that you're starting up, whatever it is, file it, keep a hold of it because 10 years later, the timing may be right to take it out of the drawer and do it.
Hello, everyone. I am Melissa Forziat of Take the Doughnut, here to help you get inspiration and get donuts. I'm a motivational keynote speaker, and today I'm bringing you a very exciting Take the Doughnut interview with Ross Greenburg, who's the former president of HBO Sports, winning 56 sports Emmys and 8 Peabody Awards. Welcome, Ross.
Nice to see you.
It's so good to see you. And I didn't mention it in that bio, but you are also a fellow Brown graduate, so we have that connection with each other.
Correct. And I hope I'm as creative as you in finding donuts and, figuring out a podcast like this. It's brilliant.
Ooh, that's something that you're aspiring to do?
No, but I mean, I think I commend you
Okay.
for having the foresight to figure something like this out.
Yeah, well, it's been a lot of fun for me. I get to speak with people like you, Ross. I mean, this is really all about you. And before we get into any more serious questions, I have to ask you, what's your favorite donut?
Well, growing up, it was always like the chocolate cream filled donut. I'm a chocoholic, so you give me anything chocolate when it comes to a donut, and I'm gonna devour it. So, but the plain and the cinnamon that you get at those little farm stands, that sell all those nice vegetables and everything, that's an old favorite because it comes right out of the oven. So I enjoy those too. And I remember growing up, my kids growing up, I had twins, and it was always a really fun day when you would go up there, pick up a pumpkin or something, and also get those new, fresh, just beautiful donuts that were very plain. Actually, most of them didn't have cinnamon on them, but so good.
It's such a nice family memory. I'm finding that this dessert food has a lot of family memory moments for people, maybe more so than other desserts, it seems.
Yeah.
So that's been nice to tap into with this. But I also, chocolate cream filled, both my childhood favorite, my adulthood favorite are chocolate cream filled of some variety. So
Yeah.
I relate to what you're saying here. So I said just a little bit about your background up front, but tell us more about yourself. What should we know about you?
Just a kid that grew up loving sports and figured out in my junior year at the great University of Brown that I wanted to make a career of it, even though mom would have rather seen me become a lawyer. Um, and I just was taken with the entire production scene of sports television. I was exposed to it by a friend of mine's father was Frank Gifford, and he was big at ABC Sports as an announcer doing Monday Night Football. And so he gave myself and Kyle, his son, the opportunity to firsthand get production assistant experience in that world. And from the day I walked into a production truck, I knew that's where I wanted to be. And so then, I had the opportunity to go to HBO. It was in its infancy. I was, one of two people in the sports department. Eventually, when I became president of HBO Sports, we had 90 employees, and I just grew with the company and hopefully had something to do with the growth of the company, particularly in sports. So I just love what I do. I'm not stopping and still producing documentaries and movies and, at the tender age of 70. So I don't know how much longer I can go.
Long as you can, really. I mean, I think it's such a good indicator of like sometimes when you just know you're on the right path, you know you're on the right path. I think a lot of people they walk into a production truck if they have that opportunity, they either feel the way that you did, they're gravitating towards it, or they want to run screaming. from it.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
the fact that you were so like attracted to that environment from the beginning, I think
yeah,
it was your calling. Like it
yeah,
had
it
to be
was.
that.
Yeah, and live television is something that you can't replicate. And sports, have this unifying quality. You've seen it. People are talking about it now. It's the one thing we can all gather around and root for. It doesn't matter if you're far right or far left, it's your team. And I think that favorite sports are favorite sports, and people just gravitate to that form of entertainment. And it's never been given the credit it was due until now. Basically, all the big media companies are following the money of sports to try and gather as many people to their stations or networks or streaming services as possible. It's really running the media world right now financially, which is fascinating to me, having been in it for over 40 years.
Mm. Well, let me reset this conversation for those who've never seen a Take the Donut interview before. So, the theme here, obviously, there's donuts behind me. The theme is Take the Donut, which is another way for me to say Carpe Diem. And it comes from this strange thing that happened to me at Brown, where I left an actual donut on a table. And it almost instantly became an object lesson for me and what it looks like to leave opportunities behind. So, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to take the donut instead of leave it on the table. And so this conversation really is all about going after opportunities, dreams, goals, whatever's put in front of you in life. And how does it actually feel to do that, practically speaking? So let me ask you this question. How are you with going after goals? What is that process like for you?
Well, I think it's interesting in the corporate world. There are always some barriers to entry as you go up the ladder. And sometimes it can be individual bosses, sometimes it can be situational. Sometimes the corporation is not really moving the way it should, and therefore the opportunities dwindle. But my dad once said something that always stuck with me, and he wasn't even in television, but he said the cream will always rise to the top. And to me, it's the execution of your ideas, whatever you're bringing to the table within your company will rise to the top if it's really magical, what you're coming up with, or your instinctive logic of looking ahead for the company and what it needs to do to win. Um, if those ideas are good and your boss doesn't take them from you, which I know early in my career, I was always aware of, you always have to stand up for yourself. Not necessarily the money will come. And I noticed in my corporate life, there were moments that were really, really important that you have to seize on. When you're coming off the high of doing something really good for the company, that's when you go in and ask for a raise. You don't do it when you're kind of in this stable environment. So I think that the scope of you know going up the corporate ladder can be different than when I left HBO after 33 years and formed my own company. Now I was Willie Loman selling instead of buying. And there's a huge difference in that. Now you have to kind of creatively think about the market and what you're selling and who you should be looking for to sell, who your friends are in the industry that you can go to. And friends don't buy television shows because they're your friend. They still have to be really good ideas. And the other thing you have to have is patience, exclamation point, because and that's within your career at a company or when you're on your own creating a company, because nothing happens overnight and everything's a strategic kind of move to forward it and get something sold, or in the case of Ross Greenburg Productions now, it's to hit the street with great ideas and sell products, which for me are documentaries and series and movies and everything else. I just wrapped up an announcement. We're doing the 99ers, the women's soccer team in 1999 that beat China, which really was the first pioneered team that created what you're seeing in the revolution of women's sports today. because they were the first team to be taken seriously by the American public. So 20 years later, we just announced the movie on Netflix a second time because we have a director now. But now it looks like it's going to go. And that's patience. Good ideas never die. I mean, if you have an idea for anything within your company or within your business that you're starting up, whatever it is, file it, keep a hold of it because 10 years later, the timing may be right to take it out of the drawer and do it. And for me, those ideas are television series and movies and all of that. But be patient.
Yeah. I want to dial down a little bit more on something you mentioned. So, the idea that things don't necessarily happen overnight, that you need to have patience. When you have something really big that you're going after, or you have an idea that you think is going to be really great, it's just not today's idea, what keeps you motivated?
Uh, Usually the people I'm working with, because no one individually conquers anything with an idea. You have to work with a team of people. And I think the thing that keeps me motivated is that when you're working as a team to make a television show or series or docu or movie, the idea is sitting there, it's IP, right? And you're working all together. So every once in a while, someone has to prod it along so it doesn't just get stale and die on the vine. And so I think that's what motivates me is trying, when I know it's a great idea, just go for it and don't get frustrated and just kill it. You can kill the idea if it's getting nowhere and you don't see a future for whatever the reason. That happens. I understand that. But if you know it's great, don't give up, you
Mm.
know, um, until you've exhausted all the different streamers in my case and networks. Don't give up.
Yeah, there's a difference between you're hitting a challenge and there's no future for the thing. Like those are two
Right.
different things. And if you can know the difference in the moment, you can really save some ideas that you might have discarded. So in terms of challenges, a lot of times when we're going after big goals or big projects, obstacles come in our way. And I'm curious for you if there's a particular brand of challenge that just keeps coming up over and over again for you. So no matter what it is you're trying to do, you're probably going to encounter this obstacle.
I think now it's probably, I'm getting deep into women's sports and, following great women athletes. And I think even though the doors seem to be opening up, there's still a little bit of a barrier. So it gets frustrating. I even did an arrangement with Hello Sunshine, Reese Witherspoon's company, and we're partners in exploring women's sports stories. And I think that, the barriers need to be broken. Uh, and I think that we're starting to see that happen, but still, it feels like there's still a resistance to understand the power of women's sports and what's happening. Maybe the movie that we're making at Netflix will help as well, if it turns into a blockbuster. But I think, and all the great, Caitlin Clark stories in the WNBA and the women's national soccer team exploding and winning World Cups and Olympics, all that will help. But it's time to really kind of remove that barrier that's taken hold for 50 years that women's sports teams can't create great drama.
Mm. Yeah, what a good company to partner with for that. Hello Sunshine certainly has done a lot of women's focused movies, but nothing in the arena of sports that I've seen. So that would be a really but there have been other arenas that they've walked into and really explored stories there. So that sounds like really interesting
Yeah.
potential.
Yeah. And that, again, that's one of those ideas I had, to partner with them because they are great entree into women's sports stories. And they hired the right people, and we're having a great time. I mean, it's, that's the other thing. You always want to, like, you pick your favorite donut. You want to pick your favorite people to work with. Um, if you sense that it's not working, and you usually know that within a day, frankly, bail. You get out of it. It's not worth your time. It's not going to work, and it's going to make you miserable. So, it's really important to work with people you like. And that old saying about you're only as good as the people you work with. That's because you have to form a team mentality. The other thing I always stay away from is people who don't want to collaborate. In television and in movie making, there's always this temptation to hire the director with a vision. And, at times, if it's the wrong person as a director, they become this lone ranger. And it's like, this is my film, and I'll make it the way I want to make it. Well, networks and streamers have a say in that, producers have a say in that, and it's really difficult to make a great film. The best stuff I've ever made, whether it's the movie Miracle or 61, another movie at HBO, or 100 documentaries that I made, the best ones were collaborations amongst 3 or 4 or 5 people, and then hiring the best cinematographers, the best editors, the best original music composers, every element of a production. Just think of it like a club, or, a baseball team or a basketball team. You have to put all the pieces together and make the magic happen on the screen. It's not one person. And I always looked at corporate America that way too, in building this HBO sports department. No one person did anything. So.
Miracle happens to be one of my favorite movies. In fact, I even interviewed Mike Ruzioni at one point for one of these. Thank you for putting that into the world. I just wanted to pause the interview to say that. I'm
Well,
so happy that exists.
yeah.
Um, I'm very curious how you're going to answer this because I'm sure you have an embarrassment of donuts that you could talk about here. But what would you say is the biggest donut you've ever taken? Biggest opportunity you've said yes to, biggest goal, biggest dream, however you want to conceive that. What's the biggest one for you personally or professionally?
Honestly, I think it was to set um, to take Rune Arledge's dream of putting together ABC Sports in the 70s, where he really started the up close and personal humanization of sports, where he had a series called Wide World of Sports, and Jim McKay was his announcer, and the two of them, when they were coming back from their first trip to Europe, from Europe for a track meet, they had to put together an opening to it, and they came up with the words. Jim McKay and he together came up with the words that they put on a napkin in first class, I assume, that said, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat, the human drama of athletic competition. That was the vision he had for ABC Sports that did not exist prior to that. Um, he honed in on the production of all the sporting events he did, and he humanized all of them. He made sure the announcers knew about the athletes, because I was the kind of kid that would cry when Joe Namath would win a Super Bowl, because I always put myself in the body of that person, and they had lived their whole life for that moment. Athletes do that. And when they achieve it, yeah, I get very emotional. And so, since I was a kid, so you combine that with Rune Arledge, I set a goal to not be him, but try to measure up to him in some way. And I once got the opportunity. I'd been at HBO for 20 years or whatever, and now I was president of HBO. And I said to him, look, Rune, I just want you to know all I did was change the letters from ABC to HBO because HBO Sports stands for your vision of what you made at ABC Sports, which was the pinnacle in those days. And then a lot of people would come up to me and say, that HBO was the gold standard in sports. So that was my ultimate goal. And, looking back, I think I always say we achieved that, you know?
Mhm. So beautifully said. A lot is resonating for me here. And to follow up on that, you may have been answering this along the way, but what's a donut that you're taking right now? Is there something that's currently in progress for you that you can talk about?
Well, this Netflix movie is big. I mean, you love Miracle, but I'm telling you that this story of these women who tore down the walls and created the revolution in women's sports that we're all living through today in the 90s as the first Title IX babies. This will be a film, and I'm getting chills, that will be as impactful as Miracle and will be in many ways more important because this will be, the Bible for women in understanding that they too can become great athletes and will be appreciated for the kinds of athletes they become. Uh, and in many ways, these women were female Jackie Robinsons in starting the whole thing. And and so if we do this well, this is a big donut. This is a really important donut. This is the creation of a donut that no one's even thought of. And it will last a lifetime because great sports movies, as you know, people tend to watch them 25 times, not once. And they become inspirational when you get to a big moment in your life. Hey, let's watch Miracle because I have a big game tomorrow and I want to be inspired. And there are other sports films that I've done that with. So this is a big one.
I mean, for me, put on Miracle, put on Rudy, and I'm ready to go. But you're right, there hasn't been a movie like that with women at the center that I've been able
Nope,
to look to,
nope.
up until this point. So I think you're doing something that needs to be done. And I love that that's out there. And when it's ready to go out there, I'd love to find some way to talk about it on my channel. I don't know. We'll
Sure.
figure out what that looks like, but I'm sure it's not your most your most high powered outlet. But I'm all about this. So um, there may be people out there who are watching this who have a donut of their own that they want to take, and it could still just be an idea for them, or it could be something that they've started to move towards and they're looking for some inspiration. So let's sprinkle some encouragement for them. And what would you say to those folks?
I would say do a lot of pre-planning on what kind of donut you want, and figure out who you need surrounding you to make that happen in the best way. And then strategically plan out a pre-production of that donut and then the execution of selling it. Um, and, and then executing on it. Execution is obviously the last step and the most important step. But if you've done a lot of planning and you've figured out the storyline, in my case, and you hire the right writer, and then all of a sudden, you put the best cinematographers, editors, and everyone around it. The execution of this movie, which is a big donut for me, should be great. And I would encourage anyone that's got some donut in any field, anywhere in corporate America, or any personal goal, that's how you get it done. And if the execution is great, you look back with a smile and you get the equivalent of whatever awards come your way. Um, and that's just a stamp that you did it. And it, puts a smile on your face. Sometimes you don't get the award, but you personally get it. You know, I've done shows that are the best thing I've ever done that didn't get an Emmy. Um, and that's okay, because I know how good they were and how transformative they were.
Oh, that's so beautifully said. So hopefully that inspires those who are watching. Now, for those who want to follow your journey, maybe want to see what's happening with this movie as it's getting ready to come out, where can they follow your journey or get information about this?
Well, I think the company, I need my assistant Evan to help me, but I think we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and of course, you can follow Russ, greenburgproductions.com, because I do have a website, and it's got everything I've done, and all the future projects, once they're announced, go on there, and yeah, you can keep track of me that way.
Well, I'll be sure to put links in the description of the video for people who want to find those more easily. And if you liked watching this interview, be sure to like and subscribe on the video because there's so many inspirational interviews still to come. But in the meantime, Ross, thank you so much for taking some time for
Thank
talking with
you.
me, for talking with all of us about what it looks like to go after opportunities in your own life.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Likewise, and to everybody watching this, you know what to do. Go out there, get inspiration, get donuts. Bye.